the heart of a woman. Yeah. This the heart of a woman, yeah. We leveling up, we glowing up. Faith don't fool ya, we showing up. Heal hearts, new starts, chosen ones. Made in his image, powerful women. Safe space, real talk, no.
What happens when the woman who was trained for war faces a battle she was never prepared for? She served her country with strength, discipline, and courage, but nothing prepares you for the kind of fight that happens in hospital rooms, in silence, in uncertainty. Today, this is the story of a mother, a soldier, and a woman who learned that prayer was her greatest weapon. Let's welcome the beautiful Phoebe to the Heart of a Woman podcast. Thank you so much for being a part of the show today. And when I heard your testimony and you shared it with me, I was in tears myself. I was in tears, and I'm like, I know that your story is going to inspire so many other women. As women, we have so many hats that we wear. We're moms. We got to go to work. We got to pay the bills. We got to cook the food. The kids get sick. We're the doctor. You know, they come home with problems from school. We're the teacher. We have to wear so many hats. And you've had to face many, many challenges, but you came out with resilience. And so today, I want to know, what was that turning point for you? That place that you decided that I cannot do this on my own, God. I need you.
Oh, the moment I got that phone call, she was in California. So me being in Georgia, it was about 12 o'clock noon. I was actually a part of a women's group that we used to do phone calls, like video inspirational calls every weekend. And we had just finished a video, and we were just kind of giving our sharing our views and stuff after the video. And I get a phone call from her father, and the only thing he could get out of his mouth was, she OD'd. She OD'd. And, oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
And my heart stopped. Because she's dealt with this before. It wasn't the first time, but this was the first time I felt the fear in her dad's voice, and I knew that this time
Was serious. Mm-hmm.
And that's all he could get out was, she OD'd, she OD'd. And I immediately got off the call with my women's group, and I just started calling my mom. And my husband was at work, so I was home alone with my little ones, and I was just immediately just in a panic. And I told him, just get to the hospital. Please call me as soon as you get there. I'm going to try to find a flight. And I immediately just dropped to the ground in my kitchen and just started praying, like, please God, please God, please God, don't let her die. Like, I have to get to her. And I immediately just started trying to look up flights on my phone, and my brain was scrambled. I was shaking. I was seeing all these flights, but I just couldn't connect to what I needed to do.
Right.
And in that moment, my brother-in-law called, because he wanted to bring over his daughter to come, play with her cousins. And he could immediately tell I was crying, and he was like, what's wrong? And I told him what happened. And he booked my flight for me right there. Got on his computer, booked me a flight, was like, all right, you're flying out first thing in the morning. This is the only flight I could get. But in that moment, I was just thank you God, because I couldn't think. I couldn't book the flight. I didn't even have money for the flight. But in that moment, my flight was taken care of, and I didn't have to worry about getting to her. I knew I was going to get to her. So I just prayed for God to please,
Yeah.
keep her until I get there.
No parent wants to ever get a call like that. Like, that's our worst fear. to get a call like that. So I don't even know how you would have slept. Did you get any sleep?
No, I didn't get any sleep. I just immediately just started throwing some clothes in a bag. I was pacing my house. I was walking in circles. I didn't know what to do with myself because I was so afraid that we were going to lose her. And I was all the way across the country.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
there was just no way that I could get to her. So the only thing I could do was just pray for God to be with her in those moments.
You,
And
you were used to being strong, in what you did. And now it was like you were in the ultimate test of life. I don't know if people understand, but, there's a few things that I don't want you to ever mess with. And my children's one of them. I go to war over my children. And so I know that when you got that call, it was like, God, I'm not giving up. So you fly to California. You got there, then what?
the second I got there, I went straight into the room and I walked in. And before I walked in there, I was just praying to God to please just give me the strength to get through this. And as soon as I walked in there, she was surrounded by people. And she had, she was intubated, so she had the tube in her throat. She had all kinds of stuff going on. And it was just, I walked in and I immediately just started crying. Her dad was there and, you know, we gave each other a hug and it was just like, you know, I, I just, I know that he had been the one that was there with her all night, and so I definitely wanted, to give him that support in that moment, because he's also the one that found her. And, he's having to work through, having to witness that part, but once I got there, um, immediately the doctors were working on her and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
And then one doctor kind of pulled me aside and started telling me that it wasn't looking good, and that I should start just preparing myself for
The worst.
the worst.
So in that moment, how did that make you feel? Like, what was the first thing that ran across your mind? Like, the doctors, we trust them. We trust them. We think that they know what they're doing, but they're telling you this doesn't look good. She may not pull through this. What was that first thought?
Immediately, no, no, because God has the last word.
Yes.
And I immediately rejected any idea that this was the end of her fight. Immediately. I absolutely did not consider preparing myself for the worst. The only thing I knew I needed to prepare myself for was to fight harder in my prayer for her, well, until she wakes up.
And
And I
so,
knew she was going to wake up.
and the doctors they just wanted you to prepare. But what did they say was really going on? Why it didn't look so good?
Well, she had overdosed on her antidepressants.
Hmm.
She had also, that night that it happened, she had been drinking because she was out with some friends.
Hmm.
Um, she, was in a relationship that, you know, uh, the other person didn't want to be together anymore. So she decided that she didn't want to live anymore. And so she took all of her pills. So what had happened was she was having back to back seizures. And that's what they were worried about, was that her brain was going to at some point not be able to recover from that impact of all of the seizures.
What I love about God is that when He has a plan for your life, that there's nothing that the devil in hell can do to stop the plan of God from coming forth. And if God had decided that she was going to live, she was going to live. But it's just at that moment, how do you hold it together? How do you pray and believe God when you're face to face with death of your child, not somebody else, but your child? And knowing that this isn't the first time, like this could really be it. As a parent, I know we're the hardest on ourselves. We question, was I even a good mother? Is part of this my fault? Did you ever have that emotion, that feeling go through your mind?
Yes. I was in the military for 10 years. So during that time, I carried a lot of guilt,
Yeah.
a lot of guilt. Um, in the in the in me making the choice to join the military, I did it to provide a better future for my kids, who at the time were, I think, like 10, 13, and my oldest was 18. She was in her senior year of school, high school. And they took it really, really hard. But I told them, you know, this is going to be a good thing. I'll be able to provide more for you guys, because I was a single mom at the time. We were living in a small apartment. And once I got into the military, things obviously didn't work out the way I thought they would.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt a lot of guilt for that, because then my girls started going through, problems that I couldn't be there physically with them for those times. And, so as they got older and started to kind of deal with, alcohol abuse and mental issues and stuff like that, depression and anxiety and all that stuff. I was deployed. There was a lot of times that they were worried about me, and I felt, guilty for having to put them in those positions. Yeah, and in that moment, I wondered if there was anything that I did, to make her feel like she couldn't come to me.
And that's hard. That's really, really hard and hurtful. And especially you're serving the country. You're being a brave soldier. You're standing your ground. You're fighting the enemy. But the enemy is where the war really lied, and your children having to leave them, and they had to literally fend for themselves. And a lot of time the enemy knows that the only way that they can really get to you is through the ones that we love. But God in his sovereignty said, not yet. I don't know who that word is for, but God says, not yet. And it says, whatever the enemy meant for bad, God will turn it around for good. So how is your daughter now? What is she doing? What is her life like? Is she thriving?
I was thinking about this on the way here, and her birthday is actually tomorrow.
Wow.
It's like,
Wow.
yeah, her birthday is tomorrow. She'll be 24.
Wow.
And I think about it all the time, is that, she's here today, and I couldn't imagine that I would be thinking about her birthday being tomorrow and she's not here. But I get to celebrate her life. I'm grateful, and I pray for her every day that she keeps staying strong. Right now, like right after she got out of the hospital, she did some inpatient care just to kind of help her get through that mental part of it. And she went into medical assisting school.
Wow.
She graduated medical assisting school. She's now working for different, doctor's offices, and she's just doing amazing. She has a really great perspective on life.
Wow.
I just couldn't be more proud of her.
Wow. Wow. That's I see that just warms my heart, right? I love hearing stories about the devil losing. You know, he was a loser from the beginning, and he'll be a loser in the end. And God is always going to get the victory. So you made a promise to tell your story for the women that are listening. And I want you to speak directly to them. Listening, and they know that they have this private battle, this struggle right now. What do you want her to understand about trusting God? Because I know that your story is the story of a lot of other mothers. What do you want to say to them? Because how did Phoebe get through those dark moments while your daughter was laying in the hospital, on that hospital bed, and you not knowing what the outcome was going to be, even when the doctor said she may not make it? Like, speak to that woman that's holding on for dear life. You promised God that you would share your story to bring glory to his name. Tell them. Speak to that woman.
So, to any woman, mother that's out there in that dark room, clinging to nothing but a prayer to get you through, you just have to know, you have to know that God hears you and that he will get you through this. He will bring you out of that dark space. And just don't take no for an answer. I know that doctors come in and they have all of their education, all their opinions, but I had to literally cling on to the fact that God had the last word. I had to believe and have peace and whatever that outcome was going to be, but I had to know that no matter what it was, God was going to carry me through that, and he was going to carry her through that. And yeah, just as a mom, I feel like our prayers are so strong because the first thing that happens, a mother's going to go straight to prayer. You know, you're just going to go straight to prayer, and you have to believe that he hears you and he's going to turn things around. You have to beg him to do what only he can do.
Yeah, and just believe.
And believe it.
So that moment when her eyes opened, what did that feel like?
When I came in the second day, they told me that she wasn't able to breathe on her own, that they were doing tests to turn down the oxygen and see if she would breathe on her own. She wasn't doing it. When we came in, they wanted to try again with us there, and we could see that she was kind of rustling because they had turned down the medicine to kind of keep her sedated so that she could start trying to wake up. And I was just talking to her, I had been praying over her. I was praying over her, just touching every part of her body, just asking God to restore every part. And she heard me talking, and she opened her eyes and she looked right at me. And the second she saw me and I started talking to her, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. And she just started just wrestling, like she just wanted to talk. And so we started telling her what happened. You're in the hospital. You have a tube in your throat. But we're going to help you. We're here to help you. We need you to breathe. We need you to breathe. And so they said if she can breathe on her own for 30 minutes, then they could take the tube out. And she was answering our questions. They were telling us to talk to her, like see if she can respond, like wiggle her toes, squeeze her fingers. And she was doing everything.
Wow.
And they were back there like, wow, she's responding. Keep talking to her.
Right.
And I kept talking to her. I kept telling her, like, you're doing amazing. You're going to be okay. We're here. We're with you. Keep doing it. Yes, you're doing it. And finally, they were like, okay, like the oxygen is down. Like they're telling us in the back, she's breathing. Keep talking to her. Wow. And I was just praying, like, God, please just let her get through this 30 minutes. Just minute by minute, get her through this, get her through this. And me and her dad were literally telling her, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. We did that for the rest of the 20 minutes. And then they were like, gave us a thumbs up. And then they're like, okay, you want that tube out? And then she was like nodding her head. And I'm like, my baby's back. My baby's in there. I see
Hallelujah.
her. And the fact that they told me that with all of the repeated seizures that she might not be the same. Like it might affect her brain. Like, oh no,
Come on now.
her eyes, I could see it in her eyes that she was full 100% there and she
She was
wanted that
healed.
too out of her throat. So I said, okay, let's get it out. Let's do this. And so they got the tooth out. And from that point on, she was just
Yeah.
like progressing and progressing and progressing. And
Wow.
it was just
It's amazing, amazing, amazing that you're giving so many other people hope. There's some women that are really praying for their kids that are probably strung out on drugs somewhere, praying for God to bring them home. They're praying for that wayward daughter, that wayward son. They're praying for God to restore that relationship that they had with their kids. They're no longer, seeing eye to eye. But God is so faithful. The enemy comes but to steal, kill, and destroy. And Jesus said, I have come that you may have life and that you may have it more abundantly. And so as you speak to women, because I believe, and this is what I'm going to prophetically declare over your life today, I believe that this platform here is not the end for you. This platform is actually just the beginning. I can see God using you in women's ministry, really sharing what he's done in your life. I see women gravitating toward you that's been going through those dark seasons and they feel like nobody understands them. Nobody understands them, but you've been through it. You've been there. You've been fighting for the country. Now you're fighting for your mind. You're fighting for the life of your child in the hospital room, trying to figure, God, are you still there? And if you are, God, if you would just save my daughter, if you would just heal my daughter, I will tell this story wherever I go. And it's because of your desire to submit to him. That's why he's going to open up those doors and those platforms. And I see him doing so much in you. This little show is just the beginning of what he's going to do in your life. And I just thank you so much for just coming on here and talking about, you know, this is very sensitive. A lot of people would not want anyone to know that they've had a child that tried to intentionally unalive them. But I believe God is raising up a generation of women that are declaring the word of God. And we may not be preachers on the stage. We may not be behind a podium in a church, but we're preaching through the life we live and through telling our testimonies. And that's how we're overcome. We're overcomers by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of our testimonies. And your story is such a tremendous encouragement. And I just pray that any woman that feels like, we get that guilt trip, I could have been a better parent because we have to go to work. We have to provide. Mom, you were never there for me. But I was out there in the streets just trying to make sure that you have a roof over your head and you have food to eat. Don't feel guilty. God is going to work in that situation and he's going to work it out for your good. Phoebe, thank you for bringing us hope today.
Thank you for allowing me to share, and allowing me to fulfill my promise to God that I was going to share this. I was going to scream from the mountaintops, and this is my mountaintop. This is the first time I'm even talking about this in 2 years. So I definitely feel grateful that I'm able to share this and inspire any other mothers out there that are going through things with their children.
Yes.
Just cling onto God in those moments, good and bad.
Yeah, he says that he will never leave us nor forsake us.
Yes.
That he will be with us always. In Psalms 139, it says, where can I go from his spirit? Where can I flee from his presence? If I make my bed in the heavens, you're there. If I make my bed in the depths, you're there. If I rise on the wings of the dawn, or I settle on the far side of the sea, even there your hand will guide me. Your right hand, it shall hold me fast. So we can't go anywhere without his presence. And so I can't wait to come to your book signing. Oh, that was a prophetic moment right there. I can't wait to come to your book signing. And I want you to lean into everything that God has for you. Sometimes He takes us out of our comfort zone. I know you were a little nervous, like, I don't know if I could do this. You can do it. Whatever God has placed in your heart, He's given you the capacity to fulfill it. And you can do it. So go write that book, Phoebe. Go write that book. Thank you for being a part of the Heart of a Woman podcast. And guys, if this story speaks to you, if you were inspired and encouraged by Phoebe's story, make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe, and make sure you hit that notification bell so that whenever we release inspirational podcasts just like this, that you'll be the first to get the notification. Thank you so much for being a part of the Heart of a Woman podcast. Until next time, we'll see you later.